Hey guys, welcome to my second day of Vlogmas. Today I'm going to show you guys how I make gluten-free vegan Spanakopitas, which is also known as a basic spinach pie but Greek style. And one of the recipes I'm using is from a recipe book, which I'll be showing you guys shortly, so stay tuned because that's coming all right up. With chronic illness, and for those of us living with autoimmune or autoinflammatory types of arthritis, we all know too well about the elimination diet and certain foods being triggers for our flares and whatnot. And also, coming from a background of Greek descent, the Mediterranean diet does have its benefits. However, as someone who was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 15 years ago, one of the main things that has bothered me are certain foods, and that is dairy and wheat. Unfortunately, in the Greek cuisine, even though it is named one of the best cuisines to eat for health reasons, the Mediterranean diet, we all know that. Most of us do, that is. If you don't, now you know. There are some things that have dairy and gluten in it, and unfortunately, I can't have something called casein, which is what basically is put into cheeses that make it really stringy and other products. Also, gluten has been a huge trigger for me, and I actually found out that I had a gene to celiac. I have been avoiding it for years. Sometimes I've, had cheat days. So I have a ton of cookbooks that are gluten, vegan, vegetarian based, and one of my most favorite is made by Jennifer Esposito. She's an actress, and her book is called Jennifer's Way. She actually was diagnosed with celiac, so she really has to be following a very strict diet with gluten. And I know many people in the arthritis community have the non-celiac antibody and have the gene for celiac. And some of these people, they can eat gluten without it bothering them. So just keep that in mind too if you ever run into that. All right, so this is her book, Jennifer's Way Kitchen. We looked at her grain-free pie crust recipe, and this is pretty much what it entails. I'll link it in the description box below, so you guys can check it out on Amazon. It's not affiliated with me or in any way. It's just a book that I own personally. And so you can see here what she calls for with the pie crust. And over here I have all the ingredients. And I just want to mention that a Spanakopita is basically made with spinach and feta in the interior part, and then on the outside it's made with phyllo dough, which is a very thin, unleavened type of crust, also used to make certain desserts like baklava. And the only difference with this recipe compared to the bread that we made for our Spanakopitas was that we didn't add the maple sugar or date sugar because that's optional, obviously, but we did add a little bit of coconut sugar here by this brand, Madava. But yeah, you can pretty much get these flours on Amazon. I know Bob Red's Mill is super popular. I know when the pandemic started, they were selling their stuff for like $60, $80, $100 a pop. It's ridiculous because these are like $8, $10, sometimes $15, depending if you buy a 2-pack or not, and that is still expensive, but they go a long way because they last a while as well. And yeah, I mean, I think when I last checked on Amazon the other day, these are starting to be sold out again because of the holiday season. I think everyone's starting to kind of hoard items. So I would highly suggest Bob Red's Mill, and always look for this gluten-free symbol if you are also avoiding gluten. So double check because Bob Red's Mill's flours, they sometimes aren't certified gluten-free. And I know if you have kind of the issue that I have, it's important for it to be certified, because sometimes there can be small traces of gluten in certain products, so you just want to be careful with that. So I'm not going to show you guys the process where I mix all the flours because that's pretty simple. It's just you're trying to make a plain dough in order to shape it into the little pastry and stuff it with the spinach and the feta cheese, which is what Spanakopitas are all about. You guys may have heard of tiropitas, which is basically the same thing but just stuffed with feta cheese. And sometimes people put other cheeses. Next slide, I'm going to show you guys how we actually made the pastry after the dough was ready. And this doesn't have egg or any yeast in it, so you don't need to wait for it to rise up. or any of that. And also, you know, if egg bothers you and you're avoiding that, this is a great choice for vegans. I mean, all you really need to do is make the dough with the flour, mix it in the way that she says here in her recipe, and then you have a pretty good pie crust. I would have to say it didn't crumble, it held up well. And the only difference I would obviously have to say is that it doesn't have that crunchy flakiness that the phyllo dough has. For some vlogmas coming up, I am also planning to make a couple desserts. One of them is going to be a Greek dessert, and we make it mainly around the holidays. And I plan on using my actual camera for this just because my phone, it fell in water like not too long ago. It's like a year and a half ago-ish. And I picked it up real quick, but ever since then, whenever I record, there's this noise, and you guys can probably hear it right now as I'm recording. So sorry about that, but it's going to be easier, I think, to show the process of the other stuff with the camera, and there'll be better sound as well. So stay tuned because that's going to come up mid to end month. And also let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever tried Spanakopitas. What's your favorite Greek cuisine? And also if you have ever come across any gluten or vegan recipes other than this one for this appetizer, let me know because I'm always willing to try different ones. So I just wanted to show you guys the flours that I use and the brands. And this is Bob Red Mill's, or Bob's Red Mill. I always call it Bob for some reason, but it's the same thing. And then the coconut flour, this is one that we have on hand. We've used other brands too, but this is just something what we have found that was available during the pandemic. And then cassava flour, this is Pamela's. There's also a really good one at Whole Foods that we ran out of, and I forgot the name, but we ended up getting this, and it's still pretty good. And then we have the Simple Organic cinnamon. I like using Ceylon cinnamon more, but this is really good. And then again, Simple Organic never fails when you want to use things for baking or cooking. This is the vanilla, and then the tapioca flour. And you put the oven at 375 with the tray and the parchment paper, and keep them in here probably for about 30-45 minutes or until golden brown. You can see the top ones are becoming that way. Bottom ones aren't yet. Probably need to switch them if you do cook some on the top and bottom rack. You'll have to switch them in order for the bottom ones to get a little crispy. And yeah, then you can enjoy them and have a nice treat.